This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
And welcome in, folks, to another edition of Open Mic Night. I'm your host, Noah Toluki, and on today's episode, the Lions losing again in a stunning fashion, if you will, on a 54-yard field goal, 19-17 to the Minnesota Vikings. We'll break that down for you and explain a little bit of what's going on here. Why are the Lions 0-5? But I have a couple reasons why not to panic, and I'll get to that. Also, a little bit of Michigan and Michigan State talk. Both teams undefeated, looking really, really good at this point in the season. And then later on, we will be having an interview with Richmond Webb, a former left tackle for the Miami Dolphins. He was a member of the 1990s All-Decade team in the NFL and also a 7-time Pro Bowler. So he'll be on later in the show to talk a little bit about what happened a couple weeks ago with the memory of Don Shula and a little bit about his career as well. He's awesome. He's a guy that I met down in Miami on my trip to go see Don Shula. You can check that other podcast out just a couple of podcasts ago. We talked about the legacy of Don Shula and everything about that. So Richmond will be coming on later to speak more about that. But I want to talk a little bit about this Detroit Lions. And I'm, as a fan, I'm sitting and watching the final play. And I'm telling myself, please don't be like Baltimore. Please don't be like Baltimore. Please don't be like Baltimore. And what was it? It was just like Baltimore, where literally they rushed 3 because on the final, when Kirk Cousins threw that pass to Adam Thielen, the first thing I watched when the ball was snapped was how many guys they were rushing. Because on the big 4th and 19 that Lamar Jackson completed the pass to set them up for the field goal, they only rushed 3 guys. I counted 3-man rush, and I'm just keep saying to myself, please fall incomplete. Please don't be like Baltimore. And sure enough, the pass is completed into field goal range. And I was just very nervous. And because Greg Joseph, the kicker, he had missed that 49-yard field goal that came up just inches short the field goal before, but he had been hitting some pretty far field goals that day, and it was just tough to see that go through. I mean, this is the second time in 3 games that this has happened to the Lions. And in the National Football League, where everything is all about results, the Lions just falling so short. And, fans have every reason to be upset, but I have a couple reasons why they shouldn't be, and I'll get to that in a minute. I want to talk a little bit more about the game because, yet again, the offense cannot do anything. Jared Goff is not the future. Okay, I know I was happy at the beginning of the season. At least they had a quarterback with some experience, a guy that could be a bridge between now and whoever else they want to draft. This guy is not getting re-signed after next season. I know he's on a 2-year contract. They can cut him for nothing. It's a very team-friendly deal. There is no reason that the Lions should be re-signing Jared Goff after next season. Just let him play out his contract and then let him go. He's just, in 5 games, he has not really proven much to me. He hasn't really been able to stretch the ball down the field. He just struggles. I mean, the interception that he had when he's trying to fit it, he just never saw the linebacker. Michael Kendricks was just sitting there waiting for Jared Goff to throw that ball. I mean, it's just crazy how much the Viking defense just toyed with the Lions offense. Now, on top of that, this was one of the best performances that the Lions have played defensively. I will give Dan Campbell and Aaron Glenn credit. Their defense has been playing well the last couple games because remember, week 1, what was the problem? The problem was the defense. Couldn't cover anyone. Remember that? All of a sudden, the Lions have started making plays, especially in the second half. They started to cover guys more. The Vikings weren't calling the right plays. Remember, they tried to get cute, like with the Alexander Madison run, the direct snap. Don't need to be cute in that situation. They started not throwing the ball to Adam Thielen or Justin Jefferson for whatever reason, even though Jefferson had over 100 yards in the first half. The Lions started to get some pressure. So they were still in the game until the fourth quarter. Then, all of a sudden, the offense started getting a little hot. DeAndre Swift started to catch fire. He scored. Then the Lions got a little luck with the missed field goal. Then Jalen Reeves-Maben with the huge forced fumble. Because Jalen came up with the ball. He said, I stripped it. I forced the fumble. And, on upon further review, it was our ball. So we had it in the 20-yard line. Perfect opportunity for the offense. They capitalized. Then Dan Campbell lays it all out on the line by going for 2. He says, no, we're not playing for overtime. We're going for 2. Kadero Hodge wide open in the back of the end zone. The Lions have a 1-point lead. But there's 37 seconds left. Lions just need to get some sort of pressure. The Vikings started using their timeouts. They used their final 2, which was perfect. The Lions just let everything go underneath. That's what you're supposed to do. But then, just at that final play, with no timeouts, they threw it to Adam Thielen and into field goal range. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, this is just like Baltimore. Why can't the Lions close out these games? As a fan, it just makes me so upset because the Lions are better than 0-5 at this point, especially of how they've played defensively. Now, the offense obviously is a different story, but defensively, they've just been playing so well. How have the Lions not been rewarded with a win yet? It's just mind-boggling. They're the first team in NFL history to ever lose 2 games by 50 or more yard field goals on the final play. How? It's just mind-boggling to me. Why does it only happen with the Lions? I don't even know what to say. Like, I was so speechless after that game watching. I literally fell to my knees. I was standing up watching the TV. I fell to my knees. They just buckled. I think every fan felt like that for sure. Then it was interesting at the end, during the postgame press conference, Dan Campbell spoke to the media, and he started crying. He did not hold any of his emotion back. Just listening to him, I totally understand. Coaching is a very stressful thing, stressful undertaking. You don't get to see your family a lot. You're with the players 24/7 seemingly. You're always game planning for the next opponent. You're always working on stuff to do at practice, and it's just a very, very time-consuming thing. And you're basically like a band of brothers. And to see Dan Campbell very emotional after the game, because he knows how hard the Lions are trying, because he knows that this team should not be 0-5, and he knows that we have to build something, that we're trying to build something, and just losing in ways like that. It's hard not to get emotional. And, I don't find anything wrong with Dan Campbell being emotional after the game. Nothing. I don't. And, everyone could say, oh, he's not tough. He's being lionized. No, I don't want to hear any of that, okay? This is the first 5 games for Dan Campbell. The Lions are trying to build something. You have to give these guys a chance. Fans out there, you have to be patient. I understand 60 years of being patient. I get it. But you just, oh my gosh, and I was arguing with my uncle about this. You just have to be patient in circumstances like this. Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn put us in the worst situation. This is the worst the Lions have been since the Matt Millen era. You have to understand it's going to take a little bit of time. This team does not have, as many offensive weapons and the quarterback like they used to. So it's going to take some time. Now, should they have lost those games? No. They definitely played better in the second half, and they deserve to win those games. But just some of those plays at the end just can't happen. Lions playing Cincinnati this week, another good football team with a lot of offensive talent. Obviously, Joe Burrow and Joe Mixon. Man, but just losing like that, it's just tough. Now, is Dan Campbell lionized? No. I don't want to hear anything about Dan Campbell being lionized. It's been 5 games. Him and Brad Holmes are on 6-year contracts for a reason. 6 years. This is supposed to take time. And if fans are getting anxious and itchy after 5 games, oh, we're going 0-17. No. Guys, no. Be patient with these guys. This team is going to win. They're going to win a couple of games this year. They're not going 0-17. This team is not that bad. Okay? They're at least staying close. They're staying competitive. They're not the 0-5 Jacksonville Jaguars. I can tell you that. The Lions are way better than the 0-5 Jacksonville Jaguars. Okay? You have a head coach that people are turning on. A guy that very inappropriate actions at that bar in Columbus. You're kind of in dismantle right now. The Lions are not dismantled. The Lions are not chaotic. There's no drama with this team. It's just in these tough ways to lose. I'm just hoping the Lions can finally break through. They got the Bengals and then they got the Rams the week after. Oh man, Stafford's gonna be fired up about that game. That's gonna be interesting to see how Stafford fares against the Lions. I'm excited for that game. But right now, it's on to the Bengals, just 1 week at a time. And, it's tough because what other teams have been in a situation like this? None. There's no teams that have ever lost by a 50-plus yard field goal on the final play. Twice in one season. It's only been 5 games. Unbelievable. So, I need the offense to get better, though. And I know the Lions are already starting to get banged up on the offensive line. Frank Ragnow seems like he's out for the year. Taylor Decker, it's going to be good to have him back pretty soon. They might. I think it sounds like they're going to slide Sewell over to the right side and Decker slide him back to the left. Because the Lions, and speaking of Sewell, he didn't really have a good game. Everson Griffin, I guess you could say, ate him for lunch. The old veteran, the savvy pass rusher. And, Sewell struggled. So I think having him on the right side, having a more experienced Taylor Decker on the left, and I know Sewell has played well in the first couple games, but, it's one of those things where the league could be trying to figure him out by now. So having Taylor Decker in his normal left tackle spot and then moving Sewell to the right, I think that's going to work. And it probably going to have to be Evan Brown at center again. With Jonah Jackson left guard, Vaitai at right guard. So hopefully this O-line can hold up. But folks, let me just tell you, the Lions are not going 0-17. They are a way better football team than this. Their defense has played better. Offense, obviously not. It doesn't seem like it's there yet, but there are some pieces. And now, on top of that, Quintez Cephas broke his collarbone. It looks like he's out for the year. So the Lions, very, very thin at wide receiver. I expect them to try to establish the run or try to get TJ more involved, because why TJ Hawkinson has not been more involved is mind-boggling. I don't understand why. He's supposed to be a top 5 tight end in the league. Why is he getting 2 or 3 targets a game? You got to give him more targets. When he has 8, 10, 12 targets, the Lions offense does better. Get TJ the ball more. He's a top 5 tight end in the league for a reason. You have to get him. Hopefully Tyrell Williams and all those guys can be back because, like I said, the Lions just need a lot of help at receiver. So, look, I'm not giving up on this team yet. I'm not saying 0-17. I'm not saying fire Dan Campbell or Brad Holmes. I'm not saying any of that. Okay, you just have to give them a fair assessment. You got to give this a couple years. Now, if they're like 0-5 at this point next year, that might be a different story. But this year, we just got to find ways to win. Because it's just so hard to change a culture sometimes after, especially the last 3 years with Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn. So it's going to take some time. But don't worry, guys. This team is not as bad as some of you might think, in my opinion. A little bit of Michigan and Michigan State before we get over to talking with Richmond Webb, former left tackle for the Miami Dolphins. Michigan State winning big 31-13 over Rutgers at Rutgers, an improved Rutgers team. And now they will head to Indiana, Bloomington, the number 10 team in the country, Michigan State. It's a noon start on Saturday, October 16th. Also, Michigan defeating Nebraska in a very close game, 32-29, a game that they were actually down in the fourth quarter, but really rising to the occasion and winning that one, 32-29. And the number 8 team in the country, the Wolverines, play Northwestern at home next week. So they have a bye this week, but next week they play them at home at noon on Saturday, October 23rd. So a lot to be excited about. Like I've been saying this for the last couple weeks, I really want Michigan and Michigan State to be undefeated when they play each other. I think that's just going to help the rivalry, and it's going to tell fans we're back. Michigan and Michigan State are back, I think it's real. And then also with regards to Michigan State, Kenneth Walker, 200 yards again on the ground. This guy seriously is a Heisman Trophy candidate at this point because there's not many guys out there that have really, really stood out this year. And Kenneth Walker definitely has stood out. Right now he's definitely in the top 5, no question. If the award was handed out tomorrow, he's definitely invited to the ceremony, in my opinion. But watching this guy carry the football, special things happen. Plus, Peyton Thorne looks very much improved. They got some speed with Jalen Naylor and all those guys. So Michigan State, a very dangerous football team right now, on top of their very good defense like they've always had. In Michigan, same sort of thing. Being able to win those close games on the road at Nebraska, a Nebraska team that, despite their record, is a lot more improved. They're fighting in a lot more games than before. So, and I mentioned their defensive coordinator, an NFL guy, former Ravens linebackers coach. He's the guy that's really put them over the edge. Talking with Coach Rick Finotti, we interviewed him on the podcast last year here at John Carroll. He worked under Michigan. And he worked under Harbaugh at Michigan for his first 2 years. He said really what he thinks has really put him over the top is that defensive coordinator. So, hopefully more good things for Michigan. But I really want to see these guys undefeated and battling for the Paul Bunyan Trophy. It's going to be interesting. Now, they don't really have, Cade McNamara hasn't really been throwing much. It's been mostly a ground attack, which I think is interesting because, you go back to when's Harbaugh going to bring a quarterback in and all that. But, hey, their defense has been playing well. So I expect a really, really good football game in a couple weeks. I'm very, very excited to watch that. No doubt about it. And right now, we're going to change things over now, if you will, to Richmond Webb. Going to interview him, former left tackle for the Miami Dolphins.
And joining us now here on the Open Mic Night podcast is a Richmond Webb, former offensive tackle for the Miami Dolphins from 1990 to 2000. And he was also with the Bengals from 2001 to 2002, a 7-time Pro Bowler. Richmond, thanks again for joining us.
Hey, glad to be here. How you doing, Zach?
Good. Really, really good. It was great to see you this weekend. And just what an absolutely beautiful ceremony for Coach Shula and all that. So what did you think of the ceremony, the celebration of life, and the alumni event that happened on Sunday?
Well, I think it was definitely something that, me being a former player, Coach Shula, and the high regard I had for him, I think that was the concern for a lot of players. With him passing away during COVID, you couldn't really go to, give a man of his stature honor during, because of COVID protocol. But I thought they did an outstanding job with the program. You could tell it was well thought out of. And then also, for the commissioner of the NFL to come down and speak and, some of the Hall of Famers, flying in to be at this event. It was just a first class event all around.
Oh, absolutely. And that's something I definitely noticed this weekend was how first class the Dolphins are for sure. But, a lot of alumni showed up, and just what does that mean with having all those former players there and all that to honor Coach Shula? Like, what does that mean for everyone in terms of how much his legacy really left on you guys?
Yeah. The thing is, Zach, when I look at it, you look at it was guys from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and it was even some guys that I played with after Coach Shula retired that didn't actually play for him, but came back to, pay respects to Coach Shula. And I think it's just, not only what he did as a coach, but for the whole South Florida community. He was philanthropist, just always giving back. A man of his stature, always looking to help others that were less fortunate than him. And also instilling that in his players, how important community service was. And, just giving back, I think, it just shows that he was more than a football coach. And some of the things that was instilled in him probably growing up, and the things he held in high regard, integrity, character, and this and that, he instilled a lot of his players. So it wasn't a big surprise to me because I think, he was a very tough coach, but I think once you kind of figured out that he just wanted the best for everybody, but it was certain things you had to do in an organized way and know what to do in order for you to have success, not only in football, but in life as well.
Is there something that really stands out about you or about Coach Shula to you, like maybe a story of that you have with him, or a piece of advice that he gave you that really stood out in your life?
Yeah, I can kind of remember my second year in the NFL. I really had an outstanding rookie year, and then I got hurt, and I missed like 3 preseason games, first couple season games. So coming back and trying to adjust, playing in a brace and wasn't at 100%. And, he just called me into his office, and it was more of a gut check, a mental check. He said, you can't play injured, but, he said, nobody's healthy in this league at this time. But it just taught me that, a lot of people, it really doesn't matter what you feel like. You can't really put that in the newspaper, because if you're going to go out there and play, you gotta play at a high level. So it just taught me to focus on the little things, which in essence, that's what he told us all the times, mental errors, penalties, but really focus in and hone in on your techniques. You might not be 100%, you might not feel 100%, but you still got to find a way to get the job done. And I think it just helped me increase a level of mental toughness or appreciate the game, and gave me a different understanding of how to approach the game, regardless sometimes of how you feel. If you can go out there, you find a way to get the job done.
So a little bit about your career now. You're from Dallas, Texas. So I went to Roosevelt High School over there, and then transferred over to Texas A&M for your college ball. But then, afterwards, the first round pick, 8th overall in the 1990 NFL draft. But a little bit before it, you had a chance to play in the Senior Bowl. Was there any advice that you got from the coaches there that helped you in your NFL career?
Well, I think I just kind of talked to former players that I went to school with, and a lot of guys shied away from the Senior Bowl because it was a tough week of physical football practice. And the Senior Bowl was one of those games, or one of those bowl games you went to that you could either really elevate your status in the draft, or it could really plummet if you didn't perform well. So I knew what I was getting into, but I wanted to try to improve my draft status. So I went to the Senior Bowl and was coached by Philadelphia Eagles staff, which Buddy Ryan was head coach at that time. And we all know how he was, but those were some of the toughest practices. And then we would go one-on-one against the defense, and you would have, maybe 30 scouts or scouts from each team with legal pads out there taking notes as you were going one-on-one. So it was definitely a pressure situation, but thankfully I was able to perform, and it really helped my draft status, moving up probably from the bottom of the first round all the way up to, being a top 10 pick. So for me, it was definitely worth the risk, because I was rewarded for having a good week of practice and a game down at the Senior Bowl.
We're talking with Richmond Webb, a 7-time Pro Bowler for the Miami Dolphins at left tackle. So you got drafted 8th overall in 1990 by the Dolphins. What was your initial reaction, to being drafted by one of the best teams in football at the time?
Well, the good thing, when I was coming out, the only thing I prayed, I just said, Lord, let me go somewhere warm, because I really don't want the cold weather. But I know you don't have any control over that. But once they selected me, the Dolphins selected me, I was happy. I already knew about Coach Shula. I grew up a Cowboys fan, but, watching Monday Night Football, the Dolphins were always on it. And, I put Coach Shula in that same regime with Tom Landry. It was just coaches you just respected back then. And so I was happy to be going to Miami. It was warm, this and that. And then getting an opportunity to play with guys like Dan Marino, Mark Duke, Mark Clayton. I knew them very well, not personally, but just from seeing them on TV. And I was looking forward to it. So I went to a Hall of Fame coach, and then when I found out about the organization, where they were, it was first class. So it was one of the best decisions. I'm glad they drafted me.
So that first season in 1990, you actually got AFC Rookie of the Year. Quite an impressive feat for a guy on the offensive line. Usually, quarterbacks, running backs win that award. So, you only gave up 2 sacks your rookie year. How were you able to dominate right out the gate and your rookie year?
Yeah, I think Coach Shula had a plan for me and Keith Sims, and it was almost unheard of to start 2 rookies, let alone start them on the blind side of a quarterback, side by side. So, but we got there, went through minicamp, and then I think we had one of the best line coaches, John Sandusky. He came in and worked with us for like a month, all summer, just getting us ready, because when I was in college, we ran more of an option type style running game, but the Dolphins threw the football a lot more. So just working from a 2-point stance, he really helped that. And then we played in every preseason game, so we got a ton of reps. And the other thing that helped was the 2 guys that were starters were holding out for a contract. So we got a ton of reps, and I think that really helped us get acclimated, get adjusted to the speed of the game. And then we just had to learn the offensive plays. And once we did that, things started to take off, but it was a continual evolving process. And once we got rolling, everything just went really well. So, I was fortunate. Normally, like you say, offensive linemen don't make rookie of the year. So that was quite a feat within itself.
You mentioned evolution as well. And I think that's a very interesting point too, because Coach Shula was very much known for, being great with evolving. Early on in his career, he won with the run. Later on, when you played with him, he won with the pass, with Dan Marino. What do you think with Coach Shula? How special was it that he was able to adjust, from a run-oriented offense to a pass, unlike maybe guys like Landry that you mentioned that were, you have to learn my system, whereas he seemed to be able to adjust to the different personnel that he had throughout his career?
Yeah, I think the thing is that it just shows he's an evaluator of talent and being able to recognize what your strengths and weaknesses are. And like you said, back then, you got a Larry Zonka, Mercury Morris in the 70s. They just pounded it out, this and that. Brian Griese was, Hall of Fame quarterback, but he wasn't a Dan Marino type, which was, just had a rocket arm and just he was special. So I think Coach Shula saw that and then put him in a position to maximize his talents. I think that's what any great coach does is you don't always try to get a player to adjust to your system. You try to get a player, figure out what his strengths and weaknesses is, and put him in the best position to maximize his skill set.
You mentioned Dan Marino as well, Hall of Fame quarterback, one of the best in NFL history. You got to play alongside him. You got to block for his blind side. What was a guy, playing with a guy with that special of a talent? What was that like? Did he demand more from you guys on the offensive line? Did he, did you guys just want to play harder for a guy like him?
Well, I think the good thing when me and Keith came in and, it's kind of Coach Shula, he ran a tight ship. So we had to conform to what was already there. And, with Dan already being there, he's probably there 8 years, Duper Clayton, they already had a work ethic. They already had a system. They were already disciplined, this and that. And so with us being young guys, it wasn't that we were going to buck the system. That's not the way it worked with Coach Shula. So, of course, Dan, the competitor he is, at times he would get on you, this and that, but you realize he was just trying to win a football game. And that's the way, that it went. So never taken personally, but I think when you have good veteran leadership, a lot of time that helps the younger guys fall in line, and now the wheels just keep rolling. You don't have to really kind of figure it out like, okay, if Dan does it this way, if Mark Clayton are doing it this way, then we do it this way. And that's the way we looked at it.
You mentioned Keith Sims earlier, one of the best guard tackle combos in the National Football League at the time. What did it take to have that chemistry, that guard tackle chemistry with Keith Sims, and how are you guys able to work so well together?
I think it was just a match made in heaven. And, a lot of people ask that question. And, I think, we kind of talked about it after we both got drafted and went to Miami. But at one time, it was speculation that the Chargers were going to take me early at the 5th pick, but they took Junior Seau. If that would have happened, the Dolphins would have probably took Keith Sims, and we probably never would have played together. But from the time we got together, we just really communicated well. And you would have swore that, we had played college football together. I mean, we really gelled quick, didn't have a problem communicating, and we kind of knew what each other were thinking. So that made our transition a lot easier because we got on the same page early in our careers.
So in the 1990s, when you played, you went up against some very good defensive ends, most notably Bruce Smith, who of course is in the Hall of Fame, played for conference rival Buffalo. Was he the toughest guy that you had to face in your career, or is there someone else maybe that stands out as well?
I'd probably say Bruce Smith. My rookie year, I played against Bruce, I think 3 times. Went to the playoffs. I played against Simon Fletcher, Carl Mecklenburg, Clyde Simmons. I played from the Eagles. I played against Chris Dolman, Richard Dent, and I played against Lawrence Taylor. And actually, my rookie year, we went to the playoffs, played Kansas City, and played against Derek Thomas. So it was several Hall of Famers that, at the time you don't know, but you're getting indoctrinated into this NFL. And that's why I always say you got to be prepared to play every week, because it's always somebody on the other side of the ball that, has that skill set that's going to try to beat you. But Bruce Smith, by far for me, is the toughest guy that I had to play against, twice a year, sometimes 3 times a year. And him or either Reggie White, thank goodness Reggie was on the other side, but they considered the best 2 to ever play that position. So Bruce was the toughest guy I had to play against.
Lomas Brown, we had him on a couple months ago, a former Pro Bowl tackle for the Lions. He said it was Chris Dolman and Richard Dent. Those were the 2 toughest defensive ends that he had to go up against in his career. So a lot of great company there as well. I want to take you back to a game against Dallas, 1993. Of course, you're from Dallas. You're playing in Dallas on Thanksgiving, and a very memorable win for the Dolphins when Leon Lett, they blocked the field goal, and then Leon Lett fell on the ball, but then touched it, and then the Dolphins were able to recover, set up another attempt, and win the game. So a very wild game. Does that game stand out to you, especially because you're from Dallas and playing there on Thanksgiving?
Well, that game stood out because 2 things. I remember that game was Ice Bowl. It couldn't have been any worse. You didn't have footing. But I can remember Leon went to dive on the ball and slipped out. And then I think it was Burt Widener and a couple other guys, my teammates, ran to get on the ball. And I was like, what are they doing? The game's over with, this and that. And then, like you said, we got another opportunity to kick that field goal. And I think the game was so tight that everybody was kind of predicting that we would meet again in the Super Bowl, because we were one of the top teams in the AFC at that time, and they were one of the top teams in the NFC. But, that's when, injuries can play a huge part. And we had a lot of guys go down after that. And I think that was the last game we won. Instead, we were like 9-2, and I think we finished up 9-7. But we just had the injury bug just bite us week after week after week, and that was tough. But I mean, we really had a good team, but it just shows you how injuries can affect the team, and I do remember that. So that was a tough year the way it finished out, because I think we only had to win one more game. We would have been in the playoffs, but it didn't happen. So that was a tough year.
Speaking of the Cowboys, Coach Shula retires in 1995, and they hire Jimmy Johnson, who was the coach of the Dallas Cowboys at the time, who won 2 Super Bowls with Dallas. But coming in after Coach Shula had been there since 1970 for 25 years, how different was that culture that he brought with him, or how different was Jimmy Johnson's style than Coach Shula's?
I think they were both winners. I think the thing that Coach Johnson wanted to put his own identity or whatever on the team. And I can remember it seemed like we really drafted a lot of guys on defense, and our defense really got really good. Pat Surtain, Jason Taylor, Zach Thomas, Sam Madison. Then we brought in like Brock Marion, this and that. So we had a really good defense. And then offensively, he tried to, we went to more of a run, more balanced offense, where with Coach Shula, he let Dan air it out as much, and he kind of put the reins on Dan because he wanted a more balanced attack to try to, I guess that was his philosophy. But he was a good coach. His style was a little different, but he was a tough coach as well.
How happy were you when you saw that he was just got inducted into the Hall of Fame last year, I believe, as well?
Yeah, I think I sent out a tweet, congratulations, this and that, and played for, Coach Johnson 4 years, this and that, learned a lot of good things from him. And so I didn't wish no ill will on him, but, he's won 2 Super Bowls, and, his knowledge of the game and stuff, I did respect that because, just being coached by him, the preparation for the games and stuff like that, I could appreciate that. So I think I sent out a tweet saying congratulations, this and that. So, yeah.
Since we are with, the Detroit Sports Podcast Network, I want to ask, so, of course, the Lions are in the NFC, Dolphins in the AFC, so not many chances to play the Lions. But do you have any specific memories of playing the Lions or playing against some of the players on the Lions that you've had throughout your career?
Yeah, we played – I think we played a couple times. I remember playing, it was early in my year, I think, up there in Detroit. And I was pretty good friends with Jerry Ball, and Ray Crockett played for the Detroit Lions back then. And then I remember later on in my career, I think we played them like on Christmas Day down in Miami. I can't remember the year now, but I do remember that, and now I kind of follow them because Dan Campbell and Aaron Glenn are both Aggies, so I want to see them do well. So those are my Aggie brothers, so I keep up with them, and I want to see them succeed. So I still keep my eye on Detroit. Yeah.
How well do you know Dan Campbell and Aaron Glenn? You're wishing the best on them. So how do you think it'll turn out in Detroit for them?
I think give it some time. A lot of times you bring a head coach in, you got to give him time. He's going to evaluate what he has now, and then he's got to figure out what type of offense, what type of defense. But I know Aaron Glenn real well. He came out a few years. We didn't actually play together. He came out maybe about 2 or 3 years after me. But he played for the Jets, and then he used to have a football camp here in Houston before he got into coaching, and I would always help with that. So I know him real well. I know his brother Jason real well. So really good guy. So I want to see those guys succeed.
Last question for you, Richmond. Of course, I mentioned earlier, you are a 7-time Pro Bowler, 2-time first-team All-Pro, 2-time second-team All-Pro as well, and a member of the 1990s NFL All-Decade team. You were just named one of the 123 modern era nominees for the 2022 Hall of Fame, Pro Football Hall of Fame class. If you were blessed enough to get into the Hall of Fame this year, what would it mean to you to be enshrined into just to have a prestigious honor like that?
I think you just said it, Zach. It's a prestigious honor. It doesn't get any better than that. I mean, it's an individual honor, but you can't achieve that without great teammates and great guys surrounded around you. So, like you said, it's the ultimate honor. I definitely would be overjoyed, overwhelmed, because I know how tough it is to get in that class or that group. But I know a lot of people, my teammates and stuff, will be happy as well. So just wait and see. But my names keep coming up, but hopefully I can get a little traction, and I don't know if it's this year or whatever, but hopefully get in there or make it in there, because it doesn't get any better than the Hall of Fame. I can tell you that.
Well, Richmond, want to thank you for coming on as always. And of course, Richmond Webb, the 7-time Pro Bowl, member of the All-Decade team of the 1990s in the NFL. Richmond, thanks again for joining us.
Hey, Noah, I appreciate everything. Thanks for having me on your show, sir.
I want to thank Richmond Webb for coming on to Open Mic Night here for this episode. He was a great interview. Really, really thank him very much. A guy that I was able to meet in Miami down at Don Shula's Celebration of Life, and we really had some good conversations, and it was really good to learn about his career and him sharing some stories. And one of the semifinalists for the Hall of Fame this year, 123 semifinalists, and hopefully Richmond gets in. He definitely has the credentials. Like I said, 7-time Pro Bowler, 2-time first-team All-Pro, 2-time second-team All-Pro. He was a very, very good, very, very solid left tackle, along with Keith Sims at left guard, one of the best tackle-guard combinations in the NFL at the time. And also, he's a Texas A&M Aggie. He knows Dan Campbell. He knows Aaron Glenn. So he's rooting for the Lions. I like it, and you guys all know I definitely am too, because we as fans, you got to be patient. You can't give up on this team, because I know good things are going to happen. I just have a feeling with this staff, but just some things got to go their way. In the NFL, sometimes it's a little bit of luck, and of course the Lions have been unlucky on the side of bad luck, I guess, for a long period of time, it seems like. But I think they're turning the corner. Hopefully, if they once they start getting some wins, that's for sure. Make sure to check out all the other great content on the podcast network. Of course, Doc and Jock, the Practice Squad, the Wrestling Podcast, the Michigan Podcast, and the Fan Report. All awesome podcast, and much more. Also, John Macaroon doing an excellent job with his Lions SI coverage. Be sure to check that out as well. But thanks again, folks, for tuning in, and make sure you join us next week only on Open Mic Night.